this evening, we're gonna do it from the top. I'm gonna show you exactly where you can find it, and I'm gonna show you how I have with the, how I set it up and all the other details that you need. Okay. So first thing first, Puell Multiple. Let's share the screen. Right. You're gonna go to indicators. You're gonna go to invite only, and you're gonna see lib. Right. Puell Multiple. You click it, and it's gonna appear here. All right. I used it for BTC USD, not USDT, because I wanted to see it from the beginning on the Coinbase chart, as you can see here. Okay. And I'm going to show you some of my settings that I have. These are based on some preferences, but I just have 642 as the zone, 0.5, 0.3, and 0.2. Why I have 642? I think here there was 1042 or something, the usual settings, but this is not so important. I have these settings because I also want to see when is needing around 2. Okay. And how is this constructed? Let me show you exactly now, and how you're going to read about the Puell Multiple. So this metric looks at the supply side of Bitcoin's economy, meaning Bitcoin's miners and their revenue. It explores market cycles from a mining revenue perspective. Bitcoin miners are sometimes referred to as compulsory sellers due to their need to cover fixed costs of mining hardware in a market where price is extremely volatile. The revenue they generate can therefore influence price over time. The Puell Multiple is calculated by dividing the daily issuance, so how many Bitcoins are mined daily, daily issuance values of Bitcoin in dollar, by 365 days moving average of daily issuance value, right? So how can it be used? There are periods of time where the value of Bitcoins being mined and entering the ecosystem is too great, so they're too expensive, or too little relative to historical norms. Understanding these periods of times can be beneficial to the strategic Bitcoin investor. So this is not for trading, this is for investing, medium to long term. The chart above highlights, so this chart highlights periods where the value of Bitcoin issued on a daily basis has historically been extremely low, like we had it here, or we had it here, or we had it here, here in this period last year, or even here. It was not extremely low now on the last pullback, but it was a good buy time. Yes, and the chart is on weekly. Right. Where it was extremely low, Puell Multiple entering the green box, which was a good time to buy Bitcoin. It also shows periods where the daily issuance was value was extremely high. So the Puell Multiple was entering the red box. Historically, a good time to sell Bitcoin. Please bear in mind, and it's very important to say this, that you're going to see some periods, especially in the beginnings of Bitcoin or at the first big rally of Bitcoin, somewhere in 2016, 2017, where it was not the, for example, it was entering above 2 or needing 4, somewhere around this area. I think the Puell Multiple starts around 4, but for example, here you couldn't have the top, or here on the second rally in 2021, you didn't touch 4 area. So still you're going to need price action confirmation and higher time frame structures. However, at least the way I placed it, and you're going to see, and you're going to tell me if it makes sense, the way I placed three types of bars on my chart. For example, the green bar where it was a good time to accumulate, the yellow bar where it was the first time to start to DC out, and the white bar, the time where you should most likely been not necessarily completely out, but at least based on that, you should have already taken your profits, thinking that we are needing the tops. Okay. Okay, these were the release notes. Okay, so how it was calculated. Okay, so the chart above highlights periods where the value of Bitcoin issued on a daily basis was historically been extremely low, like we just said in the green box, or extremely high where it was needing the red box. Okay, so this is what this indicator and how it was built. I'm gonna leave this here for all of you. It's not working to leave it here. I'm gonna drop it in. Don't worry, I'm gonna drop it in Discord. Okay. And now we're gonna go to this. It's a little bit heavy for the eyes, but bear with me. You know what? I'm gonna delete them one by one, and we're gonna go and we will explain them one by one. That's why I said that the first period of time, I don't think it's with so much relevance, because Bitcoin was so cheap back then and the price was so volatile that I don't think that this first period that I'm going to explain to you shifters here, I don't think that this first period of time has so much relevance for this indicator, right? So for example, how many people would have bought here at like, how much was here? Like $284. And look, the first time to sell it here, so around this first period of time, I would not say that it's so much value. However, already from here, it could have been the first time to start taking some profit. So you bought in this area when we were already around like 9,000, right? Or even from here, from 4,000, it was already a 20x when we started going from above 2 towards 4. So on the Puell multiple, I would say that when you're going above 2, right, and we're having a sustained period above 2, that would be a first time to start DCing out. DC out. When you're already above 4, I think that's the time when you're DC outing a little bit more aggressive, or at least if you don't want DC out from your Bitcoin, at least take some profits from those Bitcoins, or DC out, or take much more aggressive profits from your altcoins. Because look what happened, right? So when the Puell multiple went above, so it went back here, it had the pullback and it went for another rally and it went above 4 and also towards 6. This was extreme. So from here, Bitcoin dropped around 86%. That's why I said, you know what, this period of time, I don't know if I would count it in the framework that I would have with the Puell multiple. However, let's just look a little bit forward on the next one. So please remember, right? White, full DC out, to much more aggressive DC out. Green, you buy. Yellow, you start your DC out. Okay. So the next period, where it was the next period? Well, the first period, it was when the Puell multiple goes, or at least goes near 0.5, and especially if it drops under 0.5, is going to be the area or the value area where you should start buying Bitcoin. Okay, so this area from here, from let's say November 2018, when Bitcoin dropped under 6,000 towards here, right? So this was your time to DCA between 6,000 towards 3,700, because the Puell multiple dropped under 0.5, and this was the best time when the Puell multiple was near 0.3. Based on the formula that this indicator is made, this was the best moment to even be more aggressive with your purchases. Right. So from here to here, please allow me, and after that, I'm going to answer your questions there. So here, aggressive sell. We had this pullback, so it made sense, right? When it went above 2, and especially between 4 to 6 on the Puell multiple, when it entered this zone, and especially around 6, you just go out of the market, right? And we can see even here, Bitcoin dropped around 85, 86%. Now, when the Puell multiple goes and taps 0.5 and goes under 0.5 and stays in this area, this is your value area. This is, you know, that you're going to buy. And when was the time? Like I said, with yellow, you start DC outing, right? May 2019. And this was the moment when it was already above 2. I would say the Puell multiple, the classical one, says when it's near 4, but you're going to see some periods now going forward that it was not even close to 4, right? That's why I'm saying that between the yellow line and the white line, you just start your DC out, because look what happened after that. Around 2.47, so when we breached 2, the first area, you're not going to have this on your classical indicator, I mean, on your default indicator. You're just going to have it if you're going to put these values here. I think here you have 10, 6, and 4. And you're not going to have 6, 4, 2. But I studied this indicator and I saw that rarely it reaches 4. Okay, rarely. That's why I'm just thinking to start DC outing, although you're not going to catch the top, but at least you're going to take some bigger profits from the table when it's starting to sniff out 2. When it's testing out 2. So here, for example, it was 2.47, and Bitcoin from that point onwards, look, it dropped, and it dropped around 72%, right? So from June 2019, from 14,500, it dropped all the way to 4,000. Okay, this is also the COVID crash, but this indicator was not aware that it's COVID crash, not COVID crash, etc. It was just giving some very good signals. And I think also from, look, this was the first time when you tapped it, right? So it tapped it here. You could have bought in around this area, and again all the way through this area, all the way through this area from here, and you could have DC out after like 500%. So let's say you wouldn't have bought here, or you wouldn't have bought around this area, and you would have started buying. Although the Puell multiple, look, already from here, it was nearing 0.5, it was tapping. This was your first buying signal. You could have bought all the way through this area, or if you didn't want to buy because we were deviating and we were already around 1 and you wanted value, you could have bought it around this level. So starting 7,600, and you could have bought around here. So one more time here, look, one more time here. I think this was the time. No, this was the time when I entered, and this without knowing. I was lucky, I have to say. This is where I bought my biggest quantity of Bitcoin, and after that, I had an average price around $13,000, and I held it all the way through somewhere around here. I did some very nice swaps to Ethereum, etc. But it's not about this. So, right, going from here to here in the green zones, right? Capped 0.5 area, near 0.5 area, you know that this is your value zone. Now, when we're reaching, as you can see, when we're reaching 2, so already from here, I would say, look, already reaching 2 and breaching 2, you could have slowly exited, like slowly exited the market. How much it rallied from here? It rallied another 147%. Most likely also the altcoins could have rallied more. But if you have bought Bitcoin around this area and also altcoins around this area and started exiting slowly, yes, you wouldn't have made the biggest gains, right? But after this, you would also, as you can see, from February 2021 until June 2021, Bitcoin dropped around 51%. So you would also have avoided this area. And guess what? Again, the Puell Multiple told us in June 2021, guess what? Capped this area. So this is, I would say that this is a bit, not even long term, this is medium term indicator, because it tells you when to go in. It tells you also when you're going to start taking some profits. And let's see if this applied here. And also to when to start reallocating some of those profits or to get back in the market with whatever amounts do you want. So yes, you would have missed this latest rally, right? And from already from here, you would have been much more aggressive with your sellings or with your DC outing. But look, already from here, starting March 2021 and April, we know that this was the drop in May and June, and we bought them. And the Puell Multiple was already here. As you can see, that's why I added shifters. That's why I added the 2 area, because very rarely in the recent history, right? In the last 4 years, the Puell Multiple reached 4. So here it was like 3.68. So it's like barely, like marginally going towards 4. So if you would have waited for that, you wouldn't have been so precise with this. That's why I added as a legend these 3 areas. Between green, or when it goes near 0.5, right? You start buying. Under 0.5, you're much more aggressive. And as we're moving away from 0.5, you're not aggressive. You're not going to buy so aggressive, right? I would say above 1, I would stop buying because I just want to leave the profits to run. As we're getting close to 2, you can start DCouting, and you're going to be much more aggressive when this goes above 2, right? The same thing here. We are at 0.5, under 0.5, much more aggressive, again 0.5. When we're nearing 2, so when Bitcoin was already 27,000, and above, even here, right? DC out, much more aggressive DC out. And I think this would have worked amazing during the last bull run. I did this naturally. Of course, I could, like I told you, one of my biggest fuck ups was that I didn't close that long on VeChain, and I didn't took more profits. But I was very pleased with what I've done because I was coming from traditional markets. And for me, those were amazing gains. Now, of course, you wouldn't have sold the top here in May or in April 2021, but you would have DC out from this, and you would have had already your profits, and Puell Multiple would have told you already from here. Again, I want to mark something, and I'm going to stop it here. This is not a guaranteed indicator. There are no such thing as guaranteed indicators. You have to add context to that. You have to understand also a little bit of other elements, and also price action and higher time frame structures. This is just a crutch, right? This is just like, those wheels on the bike that you can add to help you, stabilize for some time. But after that, you also need your own equilibrium, and you need to need to pay attention, which is price action and which is liquidity and market structures. Now, coming back to this, Puell Multiple around 0.5, again, you allocate. And look, you wouldn't have caught the full move because after the drop in June 2021, we started rallying. And again, from 30,000, you would have started to DC out already from when it was 48. And when it was going again higher and higher towards here, you would have been already almost out from the market. And guess what? Let's move out to the recent history. The Puell multiple already said from here, actually, because now I zoomed in a little bit so I can see better. The Puell multiple said already from here, because this is the time when we are going under 0.5, that this is the time to allocate. And you would have allocated until when? Until 1, based on this, right? So up until here. Gradually, this was the value area. This was the value area. And if you would have sold, I think that the first time that this tells you to sell would have been somewhere around here. So this should be with yellow. So already from here you can start DCouting. And when the Puell multiple hits, so when it was the first time, when the Puell multiple hits 2, that's why I said, listen, it's going to be very hard to hit 4, extremely hard to be hit 4. It has to go like into an extreme rally, right? So already from here, you start DCouting, which was not a bad idea, right? A lot of altcoins already rallied. And if you would have slowly, from yellow, you start slowly DCouting, right? Or taking profits. I'm not going to say DCout because it sounds funny. You start slowly taking some profits from what you accumulated from here and also from here. And you start taking profits slowly. And when it hits 2, a little bit more, much more aggressive. Okay. So this should have been here and this should have been here. Was this a good moment to go out of the market? Well, it was, because Bitcoin dropped 26%. Until when? Well, until now, when the Puell multiple from here, although it's not at 0.5, that's why you don't aggressively buy. But it was the first time, right? From like 17th of June, we were like at 61, and still it was, let me see the next, until when? Well, until here. This was a good moment to again buy Bitcoin. Was it good? Yes, it was good, because as we can see, we're already up around 22%. How it's going to perform going forward? Well, I have no idea. But based on this, this was a good moment to buy Bitcoin again, because we're needing the buy zone when it was undervalued or when it was not so expensive like it was here. So let's see going forward, based on all of this, how Puell can help us. Because if Bitcoin again is going to go and look from here, the direction based on what we had and based on these Puell cycles, right? The direction from here should be higher. So this should be higher, but we're going to take the profits when most likely this is going to be in the 90,000 or 100,000. And based on that, Puell multiple is going to be, again, touching 2 or maybe going even higher. A lot of people are going to say, you know, that this is going to go much higher. This is that. But we're going to know that with all the profits that we allocated, or with all our positions, when this is going to touch maybe 85, 90, 100,000, and people are going to buy in euphoria, we're going to just wait. We're just going to DC out. We're going to take some of those profits, and we're just going to wait for that pullback. Okay. Because based on this, if this is going to repeat, when we're going to have this type of rally, right? So we were here, we rallied, and we dropped. Rallied, and we dropped. So we were here, we rallied. This is the first rally and the first correction. Most likely we're going to rally. I don't know how high. Maybe it's going to be 100, 120. And after that, we're going to drop, having the same, this type of correction. Maybe it's going to happen in January next year. Who knows? But this is going to follow. So this is what the Puell multiple does. It shows you overvalued area, some type of like, but this is not the RSI. This is based exactly on the miners and the daily issuance of new Bitcoins. Okay. So I think that this can be a quite interesting addition. I know that this looks heavy, but I just marked it. Of course, you don't need all of these areas, right? You can have it much more simple than this, like removing all the indicators. When Puell multiple is near 0.5, you already start allocating. When it's under 0.5, you buy much more aggressively. Like, for example, it was here or here. Here it was good. Under here, right? How much it was Bitcoin here when it was again under? It was on this date, it was 19,000. So this was a good moment, right? Not touching already from here. So already from here, from 51,000, this is the moment. From 51,000, you would have started the soft DC out or taking profits. And you have taken profits. That would be it. And Puell multiple was lower. And now we didn't tap it. but we can see that we are at these values. Maybe we're going to go a little bit lower and we're going to tap there, but this was a good moment to already start allocating again. So already when we dropped like 61, 62 was a good area to start buying. Not as aggressive, right? Because we were not under 0.5 or at least at 0.5 on the Puell multiple. However, this was an interesting moment to start reallocating after the soft DCOut or the soft profit taking, which we had because we entered a bit on the expensive zone. Let's just call it like this.